Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today is dedicated in loving memory of Eliza Agami, Ajami, Alea Shalom Lilu Nishmat Eliza Sarah Bat Farha, sponsored by her son Isaac Ajmi. As well, the Breakfast in the Class dedicated in loving memory of Ms. Lily Safra, Lilu Nishmat Lea Bat Chana. Her philanthropy has reached so many throughout the entire world. Breakfast in the Class and the Week of Cobra was sponsored by David E. Ash, with a new website where you, the viewer and listener, can support us by purchasing a t-shirt or hoodie honoring your capacity to do good today and every day at capacityforchange.com. Azaku Baruch. My friends, so they are arguing, my friends, they are arguing that the World Cup final that we just saw was not only the best World Cup final that there ever was, but that it was perhaps the greatest sporting event in all of history. Could you imagine? The entire world was watching, was going yay or oh at the same time all around the world. Except for Mark, who was in the middle of Masechet Makot and Berachot. By the way, Makot and Berachot is a good combination because sometimes people start getting into fights about which beracha you should make. Okay. My friends, so I wanted to talk a little bit about a lesson that I thought of when I was watching the end of the World Cup. I didn't see the beginning. We had 2 shiurim on Sunday, so I didn't get home till about 10 minutes left of the game, which one could argue was right when it got good. Okay, so my friends, I want to share with you something very special. I had always a question in my understanding on Chanuka. On Chanuka, there's a bracha that we make, the first bracha that we make every night. Shekel Shalom Tzlav Tzivanu, Ladlik, Ner, Hanukkah. We're lighting the candle of Hanukkah. Now, many of us, we light Nerot, which is called Ner Mehadrin, Mina Mehadrin. Now, it's important to understand, for much of human history, they did not live with the abundance that we have. They lit whatever they could. That's why you have whole chapters asking, what are you allowed to light? Are you allowed to light this? Are you allowed to light that? Both when it comes to Chanukah, when it comes as well to Shabbat. By the way, most people do not understand that one of the reasons why we don't say Bameh Madlikin on the holiday, and we don't say Bameh Madlikin on Chanukah, is because the laws of what you're allowed to light with on Chanuka and Yom Tov are not the same as Shabbat. So therefore we don't want people learning mistakenly which oils they can light from Bameh Madlikin, because that's for Shabbat, and this is the holiday, or this is Chanuka. My friends, and I think this is crazy, this is wild to me, because you and me, we are so lucky. We go to the store, and not only do we buy olive oil, instead of whatever other oils they were going to use, we buy olive oil which is the purest form, Shemen Zayit Zach. Buy virgin olive oil, especially we pay a premium. Not only that, we buy it already in the glass. You break it off the top, whatever. Unbelievable what you could buy today. Everything is available. If anyone doesn't have, they could go to Chabad or whoever, and they'll get them a free menorah with candles for the whole holiday. Unbelievable. By the way, that's the halakha. You have to help a poor person buy whatever he needs for Nerot Chanukah, for Pesumei Nisa. So we have all these beautiful opportunities to light so wonderfully. Today, there's very few people that are lighting Me'ikar Hadin. Because what's the Me'ikar Hadin? The Me'ikar Hadin is not to light 1 on the first night, 2 on the second, 3 on the third, 4 on the fourth. The Ikar Hadin is to light 1 candle every night. You want to go up a level, Faddal. Mehadrin, Mina Mehadrin, go for it. Light another one every night. According to Ashkenazim, their Mehadrin is they light every person in the household will light. But that's not how we hold. My friends, when was the last time you saw someone light on the 4th night of Hanukkah 1 candle? You ever saw? No. If someone lit 1 candle, it's because they didn't know they were supposed to light 2. But the Ikar Hadin, so it makes sense that the beracha is Le'adlik Ner Chanukah. Ner is 1. Because the Ikar Hadin is to light 1. But I have one question, my friends. One question. The whole miracle of Chanuka happens because of mehadrin min mehadrin. In fact, the Chachamim ask a famous question: how come everywhere else we just tell you the halakha? Everyone, if you want to do hidur, you do hidur. You do it by yourself. Over here, we teach the laws of not only mehadrin, of mehadrin min mehadrin. How come by this mitzvah we go overboard where everybody is doing it to the highest possible standard? Other mitzvot, you just leave it to the guy. It doesn't say, if you want to buy mehadrin, you buy a etrog like this. Mehadrin, min mehadrin, it's yellow and if you want a mehadrin, no spots on it. We're not taught from the beginning that everyone should do the highest level of the mitzvah. We leave it to every person to gauge their own level. The Chachamim explain because the entirety of this mitzvah of this miracle happened because of mehadrin. Why? You see, in the oils in the Bet HaMikdash, there's two levels of oil. There's the oil that's required for the menorah, and there's the oil that's required for the menachot. And one of them requires a lower standard, one of them requires a higher standard. Now the Kohen Gadol, every day, he would bring his korbanot for the menachot, okay? And the menachot requires a lower level of oil. And the oil that they found was from had the special seal of the Kohen Gadol on it. And everyone wants to know, since when did the Kohen Gadol get into the hashgacha business? All of a sudden he became the OU. He's going and checking out oil factories in Italy to check if they're proper oil. Why was the seal of the Kohen Gadol on these oils? Okay? My friends, I saw yesterday a beautiful line. It said, you know what the real miracle of Hanukkah was? There was an oil that had one hashgacha on it, and everyone accepted that hashgacha. Okay. Yeah, so what was the pshat? I saw a beautiful understanding. They said like this. Really, the pasuk tells us when it comes to hadlakat nerot of the menorah, it says, right, ba'alotecha tanerot, what should you use? Shemen, zait, zach, katit la maor. It has to be squeezed for the purpose of lighting the menorah, etc., on the highest levels. For the menachot was required less. But the Kohen Gadol that brought the menachot wanted to do the mitzvah to a higher level. So what did he do? He squeezed it, right? He squeezed it for the menachot on the highest level for the menorah. So he did a hidur in the oil that he saved. He put away these oils to put away for the menachot that he would bring. And the one that they found was actually not a cruse of oil that was prepared for the menorah. It was prepared for the menachot. But since the Kohen Gadol had done it to the highest possible standard, since his hidur over there allowed for the mitzvah, for the nest to happen, so since the nest came about in a way of mehadrin, so therefore we're all doing mehadrin when it comes to this. So my question is, if mehadrin by menorah is baked into the mitzvah, it's part of the reason, it's why we teach it that way, it's why everyone does it that way, why would they not have made an allowance in the nusach of the bracha to say ladlik nerot Chanuka? So one could answer the question, you know what, first night, there's only one ner, right? Only one light, one candle on the first night. They wanted to keep the language uniform, right? By the way, you should just know, in many brachot we have a nusach that changes. Tevilat keli for one. Tevilat kelim for many. We leave it to the person to be able to adjust single, plural. We didn't say we only want one nusach. So why would we not say that over here as well?
The expectation maybe wasn't going to last narrow, so it was going to be near. And then all of a sudden, it highlights the miracle.
It's a great answer, except that they only really made the tikkun. The Gemara says, the shana acheret. So the answer would be a good answer if they did it right away. By the way, you're pointing something out very interesting. How come they didn't do that right away? There's many mefarshim on why they waited a full year to decide to be able to institute the miracle, the holiday practice. My friends, I want to share what I think is a very powerful answer. You could have said Ner Hanukkah. You could have said, alternating depending on what you have. Ner if you have one, Nerot if you have many. Or you could have just said Nerot and said that the mitzvah of lighting the candle is what? Is for all 8 days. That's the plural lashon. Someone said to me, Rabbi, once, but also we say that by Shabbat. Ladlik. There's Shabbat. How many candles do we light? 2. Same question over there. So, my friends, I think that there's an answer. I think there's a similar answer that will answer both of these questions, but for different reasons. And I think the answer is found in this year's World Cup. How many players? We have a couple of Englishmen here with us. Fantastic. Argentinian as well. Mabruk, Mazal Tov. Kol Sason v'kol Simcha. Kol Hatan v'kol Kala. Okay, fantastic. So we have people celebrating here with us. From the Hashuv Abadi family and the Levy families. All the way from London. How many people play on each team? There's 11 players on each team, correct? And it's magnificent to watch, by the way, how they play, how they kick. The ball goes back and forth. And the sign of a really good team is their ability to be able to do that, to play, to take corners and offer up headers so that someone can knock it in, right in front of the goal. You see these beautiful, beautifully orchestrated plays. The whole stadium goes nuts when someone who's running with the ball manages to pass the ball ahead, and you find the guy streaking towards the goal, and he outdoes his guy, and he's alone in that run up to the pit. Your place goes majnoon. It's a very exciting thing, even if you don't like soccer, like most Americans. Although they're convincing us this year, more Americans got into soccer than ever before. Okay, my friends, beautiful game. Game where everyone works together like a well-oiled machine. You have the guy in the front. He means nothing if you have nobody in the backfield. The defense means nothing if you don't have a good striker. So you need the whole team. But then the end of the game comes, and then you have the penalty shots, and it doesn't make a difference how good your backfield is. It doesn't make a difference what kind of passer you are. It's only down 1-on-1. Me versus the goalie. Messi, Mbappe, 1-1. Then they miss the second. Then they get the second. Then they miss the third. Then they're reliving it. Look at these guys. They're already smiles on their faces. Right? Crazy. There comes a time when the game, it shifts into its individual parts. And nobody else matters but you. To me, I think that that's a big part of the concept of Chanuka. Because you know what? You know what they say? Hindsight is 20/20. In the aftermath, when Bitcoin was going crazy, everyone's like, I knew it was going to go up. And then when it crashes, everyone's like, I knew it was going to crash. Hindsight, 20/20. Shtabach Shemo. Right? Monday morning quarterback. Beautiful. Russell Wilson, what a dib. Who passes when you have 3 chances to run it in and you have the best running back? Maybe in NFL history at that point, Skittles, right? Marshawn Lynch. Forget it. Everyone's second guessing. So the miracle of Chanuka in the aftermath is a story about the menorah and how long the oil lasted. The miracle of Chanuka in the aftermath, Monday morning, it's about how the few defeated the many. But my friends, let's go to not Monday morning quarterback, but let's go to Sunday quarterback. The whole story of Chanuka happens because of one man whose name is Matityahu. If Matityahu does not lead the rebellion, if he does not jump off of the Mizbeach, and stab this man, start this process, this wicked Greek commander who's forcing them in the Beit HaMikdash to sacrifice a pig on the Mizbeach after murdering countless Jews for doing the crime of Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, Brit Milah, Torah. He kills this guy with no plan, by the way, with no one to back him. He has no backfield. He has no one with him. It's mano a mano, one guy against one guy. He's the Pinchas. He's the Nachshon. He's the Moshe Rabbeinu. In every scenario, a revolution happens by the hands and the heart of one man. I think we should call it Revoluti-ONE, not revolution. That happens because one person stands up. So therefore, the ikar chiyuv of Ner Chanukah is one candle. And when we add one candle. And the mitzvah and the beracha is la'adlik Ner Chanukah. Because the entire inauguration, dedication of the Mizbeach, of the menorah, of the Beit HaMikdash, happened because of one guy. And I think the message to every generation that sits in its particular darkness, and to each person that sits in a particular darkness is, don't wait for someone to be standing next to you and, to be your brother in arms. Don't wait for the army. Don't wait for the group. Don't wait for the community. You see something is wrong or something needs fixing, stand up and do what's right. That, my friends, is the power of one ner. And to light 8 and call it nerot is perhaps to condemn any future opportunity of benefiting or bettering a situation by causing the individual with great hopes, vayigba libo b'darkei amonai, and his heart was lifted in the ways of God. In those moments when one person is all it takes and one person is all who makes a revolution happen, my friends, it's down to you and it's down to me. I think as well, the element of Shabbat carries a very similar answer. You see, the Ramban writes that although we light 2 candles on Shabbat, one for Zachor and one for Shamor, we light 2 candles. That idea is something which is in and of itself requires an explanation. See, Ramban writes that what is Zachor and what is Shamor? Our rabbis teach us that Shamor means, guarding the Shabbat means not to do any of the mitzvot, lo ta'aseh on Shabbat. Not to break Shabbat. That's what it means to be Shomer Shabbat. That's why we say, someone who keeps Shabbat, what do we call him? This guy is Shomer Shabbat. You see? What if a guy keeps Shabbat but doesn't make Kiddush? Would you call him a Shomer Shabbat? Yeah. We call Shomer Shabbat means guy doesn't work on Shabbat, doesn't drive a car on Shabbat. That's a Shomer Shabbat. Doesn't use his phone on Shabbat. That's Shomer Shabbat. Zachor means to remember Shabbat. That's the positive commandments of not breaking Shabbat, but making Shabbat into something. We zochrehu al hayayin, we pick up the cup of wine and we remember what this day is and what it means to the Jewish people. Okay? That's what Zachor means. Says Ramban that the only concept of Shamor, the reason why we instituted Shamor, the reason why we instituted Shamor, why we told you can't do all these things. You know why? All of those no's were to allow for a yes. If you're working all day, how are you going to remember it's Shabbat? How are you going to sanctify the day? How are you going to elevate it when you're sitting at work trying to close a deal? Impossible. So therefore we made it asur. In fact, that's how Rambam explains why Chachamim were oser mekach umemkar. Let's say I don't sign a contract. Let's say I don't break any laws of Shabbat. But I go do a deal. I'm walking in front of a building. I tell the guy, I own this building. You want to buy it? Let's shake hands. Building sold. Asur on Shabbat. Mekach umemkar. Right? You're not allowed to do business on Shabbat. Why, says Harambam? He says, if the whole reason why we made all these things asur was so that you should sit in the spirit of Shabbat, understand what it means, recognize its power, remember Borei Olam, remember the days of creation, remember the day of rest, if that's the point, and you couldn't do that because you're doing the melachot, so therefore, if you're going to start working, you're going to go to business, you're going to go do your business all throughout the day, just not do the 39 things you can't do, you're going to be in the same place. That means that Shamor really operates as a means to the end of Zachor, of remembering and sanctifying. So how many candles are there really? There's one candle. There's 2 expressions. Perhaps that's also why it's Ner Shel Shabbat. My friends, this idea, the singularity, is true not only when it comes to human beings and their ability to take responsibility on their shoulders. It's not only when it comes to creating revolutions, but it's also when a person tries to understand what the right thing to do is and the right path. If a person has 2 things, 2 options, 2 decisions to make, When you're going in two directions, you're not heading in one strongly enough. There's a famous line that says, there is no plan B. You know why? Because people who have a plan B never really fully commit to plan A. So sometimes if a person recognizes that he's focused not just on Shamor, but on Zachor, and the idea for one is to support the other, fixating, if you will, on the goal will allow the person not to get distracted. Many times a person spends so much time thinking about the nose that they forget to keep Shabbat at all. It's so important also to have the singularity, not only within people, but also within focus. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless us to achieve all the great things in our world by the focus that we bring to it, and also by the lack or by the studied avoidance of waiting for the whole team to show up behind me. If I know what's right, just go ahead and do it. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen. Amen.